is, but
Hi, everybody.
yeah.
Hi, Mayor.
So I think we have everyone, Mayor. We've got 6 o'clock. I don't know if you'd like to call the meeting to order.
Liz, were you anticipating any other council members, you know?
Well, make sure you
Okay, well, why don't we wait 1 minute? I'm gonna close my door and then we'll get started in a minute. Thanks.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, here's Sarah.
All right, it's 6:02. We're gonna get started on the Fairview Park Board of Control. If we could do a roll call.
Mayor Cooney,
Present.
Finance Director Single,
Here.
Council Member Minnick. Thank you. And Mary Kay Costello, Director of Service and Development is here. Thank you.
I think you left me out.
And Tim Riley, Director of Law, present.
I'm not easily offended, don't worry.
Well, you weren't on my gallery screen. I'm so sorry. I think I did that last time too. Thank you.
Okay, our next item of business is approval of the minutes from the August 17th, 2020 meeting. Those minutes were distributed with the agenda. Thank you to Clerk Westbrooks for doing that. I'll take a motion to approve unless there's any amendments to those minutes. Thank you, Councilman.
Second,
Support.
Okay, that way we know Tim was here as well, since we skipped him, so that'll be second for Tim. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, minutes are approved. The next item of business, new business is the HVAC preventative maintenance services by Smith & Obie. Director Costello, if you could talk to us about that, please.
Thank you. We issued a request for proposals and advertised in the Plain Dealer. We received 6 total proposals and 2 of the vendors tied. So we interviewed Brewer and Garrett and Smith & Obie. After our team had interviewed those two, we were able to narrow it down to Smith and Opie for our prospective preventative maintenance contractor. They have submitted their costs at $26,000 for preventative maintenance on various HVAC systems, chillers, hot water systems, and all of their references came back very well from Akron, Brooklyn, and the state of Ohio, Warrensville's Developmental Center, with glowing references for them as well. That concludes my report.
Is there any questions with respect to this RFP process or Director Costello's recommendation with respect to Smith and Opie?
Mayor, I just have one question. Outside of the preventative maintenance, any other repairs, is it written in the contract where they will make those repairs? And then it's time and materials?
Correct. It's time and materials, Director Single.
Okay. But is it written in the contract that they have to make the repairs?
It
outside
is
of
not written in the
preventative?
contract that they have to. I can go to another contractor if necessary.
Okay, thank you. If there are any questions, I'll make a motion to approve Smith and Opie for the HVAC preventative maintenance contract.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the purchase of 3 CNA spray disinfectant machines. Director Costello, if you could talk to us about that, what those are for, and the process as well. Thank you.
Of course. In the process of researching the best way to apply disinfectant to our public facilities, the recreation center, senior center, our city hall, administrative and police and fire departments, I narrowed down the prospective products to a Graco unit, which is able to be pulled along the employee. They don't have to wear it, and it has accommodations for 2 wands to spray the disinfectant, and it can accommodate many applications without having to constantly be refilled. And so in securing 3 different quotes, the best and most reasonable and most responsive quote was from Sherwin-Williams for $9,924.05 for 3 units. We'll have 1 unit at the Gemini, 1 unit at the senior center, and 1 here at City Hall.
Are there any questions about those items? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to approve.
Mayor, I just have one question. So the contract or the purchase order would be approved or be issued to Sherwin-Williams for $9,924.05?
Yes, would Greg?
Okay. So the bullet point above where it says $3,600 each,
Correct. It might, yes, that number includes some product as well.
but if that's 3 units at $3,600 each, that's $10,800.
Oh, I'm sorry, the total is 9,924. The 36,000 should have been replaced. It was just a holder for the amount. At the time I made the agenda, I wasn't sure if that amount was going to change because I had ordered some of that product, but the 9,924 is the correct amount for the total for the 3 units and the product.
Okay, if there are any other, I'll make a motion to approve that purchase request.
I'll specify in the minutes the exact amount for each unit, Greg.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I'll second Greg's motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you, Mary Kay. I don't know if there's any other questions for the board tonight. That's the last item on the agenda.
I'll make a
No
motion to adjourn.
Okay, thank you. So second,
Was that Tim? Mr. Riley, was that you?
No, I do this, Bill.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Minnick.
okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody. We got 5 minutes to spare. Thank you, Mary Kay, for all your work on all of that.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Then there were two, Liz.
Yes. I think Sarah's coming on my video this time. And here comes Mike.
Hey Liz,
Hello.
how are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, it was the first day of Zoom school and I haven't had a glass of wine, so today was a great day.
Yes, I feel your pain.
And you know what though, I will say that Caitlin's teacher went above and beyond, and I feel like as much as I hate that they're not in school, I feel like she's in really good hands, and this is gonna be 1,000 times better than what any of us could have expected. So I at least feel good about that.
What grade is she in?
2nd grade.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying my daughter has, which class was it? Advanced chemistry. They had a material pickup last week, but apparently they didn't give her the book for that. So luckily it's not a whole lot of reading she has to do, but we went 3:30 and picked up the book so she can do her first assignment.
Oh,
It's
never fails.
Yeah, but I'm like, for if that was the only problem we're gonna have this week, I'm okay with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's,
And
I think by next week, I will feel comfortable to even just like, I'll sit in my office, she can sit in hers, and I don't even have to watch her. But this week, we've had some connectivity issues, and I don't know, it'll work itself out.
The whole system went down today, didn't it?
Yeah, I
It
think
did.
Yeah.
I think it's down for an hour and a half or something,
Wow.
but I mean, I think every school district in the country has faced that so far. So we can't really fault our people, just
No.
frustrating.
We haven't had that issue yet, but they did orientation all last week to kind of check the Zoom and all that kind of stuff. But that's like on a day-to-day basis, whether or not that's gonna
Oh yeah.
cooperative.
I mean, I don't think any of these companies, when they built their software, built it for this. And yes, they've had all summer to try to figure it out, but server space is still limited, and bandwidth is still limited, and internet still goes out. So
Right.
patience and grace, that's all we can
It
do.
wasn't yesterday when all those storms were going on.
Oh, I've already considered what we have to do if that happens. All day recess. Really what they should do is they should send out a list of like age appropriate Netflix shows, right? So second grade got canceled because all the storms knocked out the internet. Okay, time for the Magic School Bus. Go learn something. You know, that would at least make me feel better, like there's a backup plan for when the internet goes out. I don't know how you learn advanced chemistry. Even Bill Nye might not be far enough for that.
We'll see what happens.
That's for me.
I'm gonna press unpause on the recording now so everybody knows.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, we're good?
Actually, I have one question. I have a call, or I thought I had a caller on here. They checked in and checked out, so I thought it might have been one of the participants for PACE, but
Frank A is part of the developers team. So I don't know if David's still on the call or not, but he's part of the development team at NASA.
was he? I had a phone number. Okay, here's Kim Kerber.
Here,
Okay.
David Krisafi's here, so I don't know how useful I will be. I need my, the PACE people on here, but I'm here.
Okay. Well, thanks, David. Thanks for joining us.
No problem. I'm not, this is my nephew's computer because I don't have.
I'm gonna put the video back up then because I didn't know.
There I am.
Okay. So everybody, that's David Krisafi. He's one of the developers, works with Cirrus Development. He's part of the NASA team. So, and I know Jennifer and Colin were on at our last meeting. So hello to them as well.
Bridget, are you ready to begin?
Yep. All right, the Finance Committee will be called to order at 6:17 p.m. Our first order of business is Ordinance 2029, authorizing purchases with PMP Valley View Holdings LLC. That was on first read on our last meeting. It remained in committee. Does anyone have any discussion on this? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to make a motion to put this on second and subsequent third read. Okay, Mike?
Yes.
Is Brian here?
No, he's not.
Here tonight.
Bill?
Yes.
Maureen? I thought she was here. Sarah?
Yes.
I will vote yes. Greg?
Yes.
Okay. So then the next thing we're going to talk about is the PACE pieces, Resolution 2011, Ordinance 2030, and 2031. So we are going to be amending, I'm going to make a motion to amend all of these by replacing them in their entirety. Does anyone have questions? We do have helpers here, Jennifer and Colin.
Hey, I just got a text from Maureen. She got cut off. She said she's trying to log back on, but she's not sure what's going on.
Okay. So does anyone have any questions for the updated PACE pieces?
Bridget?
Yep.
So I mean, obviously there is a lot in these documents. Could somebody from the administration just explain to us why we needed to substitute entirety out and entirety in and what changes might be in there? I tried to do a line by line and it was started to take a lot of time, and I want to just make sure that I've caught everything.
Well, Mayor, if I'll take the first half of that. The change most recently was due to some of the financing figures changing. So the amounts that are being financed changed, and as a result, all the payment schedule figures changed as well. There were just a couple Scribner's errors, and that's about it. In substance, it was just the totals in the amounts. And I don't know if there's any other things that Colin would like to jump in from Bricker and add to that, but in substance, that was pretty much, and it was just because of the heavy load of exhibits, it was just easier to replace everything so that every exhibit lined up with your ordinances.
Okay, good. I caught that the numbers changed. So, woohoo!
That was really it. That was really it.
And I think with some of the exhibits, actually signed exhibits as well.
Correct. The
Yeah.
petitions were now signed. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I appreciate all of Liz's hard work on this legislation. It's
Yes.
very time consuming, and I appreciate it.
Yes, very much. Thank you, Liz.
You're welcome.
Okay, any more discussion on the resolution and the two ordinances?
And again, David Krisafi from Cirrus is here. If anybody had any questions for him, again, I know Colin and Jennifer would probably have, from the financing standpoint, would be able to answer those technical questions.
I appreciate everybody's work. So this has been a long journey. It's going to get done. And COVID has not been kind to anybody, but you know, we've worked through it. So, and you know, hopefully we will get to the other end of this pandemic. So, it's,
Yeah, I'd like to thank David and his team for their persistence. It's been, as he mentioned, a long road, and Jennifer and Colin for all their help with this particular piece of this project. Thank you.
Okay, then I'd like to make a motion to amend by replacing in its entirety Resolution 2011, Ordinance 2030, and 2031. Mike,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
did Maureen get on? Sarah,
Yeah.
I will vote yes. And Greg?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Maureen still can't get on. She said it just keeps spinning. She's gonna try to restart her device.
Okay.
He can call in too, and just have it on speaker. I don't have her number, so I don't have it in front of me to call and text her that. But
Black.
you can text her that. You can.
What's the phone number, Liz? She can call in.
It is area code 646-558-8656.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, she's probably gonna need the ID number too. It's
You have that?
Okay, I think I have that here. I see it now. Thank you.
Okay, then I'd like to make a motion to place Resolution 2011, Ordinance 2030, and Ordinance 2031 up for emergency passage without 3 reads. Mike,
Yes.
Bill, Sarah,
Yes.
I will vote yes. And Greg?
Yes.
All right. Next up is Ordinance 2032, amending section 129.01, restructuring personnel composition of the police department. Anyone have any questions or anything about this one?
Bridget,
Yes.
can I just, is Greg on the line?
Greg Single?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, Greg, I have a couple of questions about this. You know, on the surface, it looks pretty standard. We're just moving some job classifications around. But I have, I guess, 3 questions, all leading to the last one. The first one is, how will this affect our budget, our pension funding, and our overtime? And then ultimately, is this net neutral, net positive, or net negative to our budget?
Is the chief on, or is Paul Shepard on?
No, they're not on. It's my understanding they were going to be asked to come to the next committee meeting.
Pat?
Yes.
Okay, I'm in.
Oh, hi, Mo.
Okay. I don't know what happened, but okay.
Bridget, maybe we just leave this in committee.
Sure.
And discuss at the, when we have Chief Upperman or Lieutenant Shepard available to answer questions.
I did give him a heads up that he would probably be asked to come to the committee meeting on Monday for this piece.
Okay, so then I will make a motion to have this second read and remain in committee. Okay, Mike,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
I will vote yes, and Greg?
Yes.
Okay. Then the last thing is ordinance 2035, weed cutting charges for certain properties. Does anyone have any questions on this one? All right, seeing none, I'm going to make a motion to put this up for emergency passage without 3 reads. Mike,
Yes.
Bill, Maureen,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
I will vote yes. Greg?
Yes.
Okay, and then that passes. That will conclude the Finance Committee, and it is 6:26 p.m.
Thanks, Bridget. Good job.
Thank you.
Well, welcome back, everybody. We have boards and commissions reports. Bill, do you have anything? You're muted, Bill.
Well, he's not muted, we just can't hear him.
Okay,
Move up to the speaker because you're not muted, but we can't hear you.
Maureen, do you have anything for boards and commissions?
Nothing to report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
Yep, school went back today for Fairview Public Schools. They are, like I mentioned before, operating in a remote manner. And as a parent of a second grader, I'm very proud of our district and how they pulled that off today. My stress levels were a lot lower than I thought they would be. There is a levy coming up in November, and I will be forwarding you guys some information on the specifics of that levy shortly. And perhaps even if you're interested, we could have Superintendent Wagner come and speak to us about it. But those are the 2 big things.
That'd be great. Thanks, Sarah.
Mhm.
Bridget, do you have anything for boards and commissions?
Nothing for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg, do you have anything for boards and commissions?
No, I do not.
Okay. William, do you have anything for roundtable? I'm having a lot of trouble hearing you. Okay, Maureen, do you have anything for roundtable?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah, do you have anything for roundtable?
I do not.
Bridget,
I do not.
Greg,
Yeah, a couple things. First one, something that was finally good. The Fairview Park Youth Association was able to hold their golf outing. So it's the first of the only of the 3 fundraisers that traditionally occur. There was some concern that it was going to be low attendance because of the pandemic and all that, but there was over 100 participants. It was at Bobo Link in Avon Lake, and it went very, very well. So the other thing is that I got an email pertaining to concern about a lack of crossing lights at the intersection of 210 in Westwood as well as 220 in Westwood. And the resident also sent a link to a grant funding opportunity, which is Monica still on here?
Yes, she's muted, but she's on here.
Monica, can you hear me? No?
Hi, Councilman. Yes, I can hear you. I'm having some connection issues.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, I appreciate you looking into that again. Are you able to give a quick comment on pertaining to that grant and how something like that might possibly work for those intersections?
Sure. So I kind of missed a few seconds of you speaking about it, but did you give a general synopsis of what the resident had spoken about?
Yeah, that just she wanted, thought there could be crosswalk lights at the intersection of 210 in Westwood as well as 220 in Westwood. And with you being a little more familiar with that.
Oh, sure. Okay. So, of course. So, first of all, I thought it was really cool that the resident took it upon himself or herself to see what type of grant opportunities are available. So thanks to that person for taking the time to do that. So the funding that was referenced in the email is the Transportation Alternatives Program, which is offered by ODOT in coordination with NOACA. And this is the funding source that funded 80% of our recently completed Lorraine Road Streetscape project. So recently we submitted a bunch of different projects to NOACA in order to get those in the queue for future funding through the TAP program and other state and federal funding sources for resurfacing. And 2 of those projects that we submitted, one was for West 210 north of Lorraine, and then the resurfacing of Westwood as well. And as part of those potential projects, depending on whether or not we're funded in the years that we requested or in the future, crosswalks and pedestrian signals could be incorporated into those resurfacing projects. So that is definitely something that we'll keep on our radar, and we'll also be sure to take note of any other funding opportunities that could help us increase pedestrian safety and connectivity.
All right, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I can forward everyone the link if you're interested in the particular grant. And then the last thing I have, there's an issue I wanted to request to be assigned to a committee. Can I make that request here? Yes, okay. So the issue I'd like to request is the pertaining to parking commercial trucks on residential driveways. If we could get that assigned to a committee, it'd be appreciated.
I will assign that to the Councilwoman Waring's committee, I believe, this evening.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay, if we have nothing else, we'll roll right into our into the regular meeting. Well, actually, no, we have a half an hour. Mayor, do you have anything to add tonight?
Yes, I do. Welcome back, everybody. Hope everybody's had a good couple months, enjoying the good weather up until yesterday, which was certainly not a nice day. As I think you might be aware, we did get some additional CARES Act Corona relief funds that were allocated to us I don't think we've received those yet. Is that correct, Greg? There, but so with the recent allocation, we have $651,456 that has been allocated to the city. As of right now, we have around $88,000 that we have spent. We set up a special account, a COVID-19 account, and a lot of that is PPE products, cleaning products, computers, for remote access for the employees. And we're working on getting additional items for that. We, and talking to the team, the number one priority is safety for our employees, our residents, and our visitors. And also one of the things that we were looking at is, we wanted to make things easier for our employees, because there's been a lot of cleaning protocols that are in place as a result of the concerns with the virus. At the Board of Control earlier today, we did address one of those items, the sprayers that the sanding spray disinfected machines. We have also are going to have our city hall ducts cleaned, and looking at a bipolar ionization system to help remove articles from the air. We're going to be installing upgraded air filters as well to help eliminate the spread, or certainly lower the risk related to the spread of the virus. The disinfecting machines we talked about as well. We are going to have touchless water bottle stations installed at every water fountain in the city. Unfortunately, there's two that we can't. The service garages, they had looked at it a couple of years ago, and it's just because of the age of the buildings, it was not not really feasible. So at the Gemini Center, they'll be installed, the Senior Center, the Dunson Room, City Council chambers. In addition to helping spread the virus, these are much more environmentally friendly items, so we're going to be purchasing those. A lot of the things that we're talking about doing, if we're buying equipment, we're fortunate with the talented service department that we have, that they can do a lot of these installs. So with respect to the touchless water bottle stations, they've already done that here a few times, and they'll be installing those once we get those in-house. We're also looking and getting quotes for touchless soap, towel, and water dispensing units here at City Hall, Police and Fire, Senior Center, and the Gemini Center. Again, I think that the less people touching things, it helps from a cleaning standpoint as well. And again, this is something that our personnel can install. We've just today, the service department installed some plexiglass in the finance department to help protect Deanna. They're going to be doing the same thing for Carlene. They've done it at the Gemini. They will be doing it at the Senior Center as well. Some of the other costs that we can recoup through the CARES Act is unemployment costs and some of the Shared Work Ohio costs. The Small Business Micro Grant Program, those costs are also can be recouped through the CARES Act. One of the items that we'll be bringing to you the next meeting relates to some doors having some items installed here at City Hall, at the Gemini, at Bain Cabin, to, for instance, at Bain Cabin, to allow for easy to open up the back patio more easily, to spread out so people can better socially distance themselves there. Here at City Hall, to have, again, touchless fobs so people aren't using the same handles to enter the building. And some of the ingress and egress at the Gemini Center, again, to eliminate, to make it a little more secure, and because the normal entrances and exits have changed. So those are some of the things that we're working on that are more substantive, if you will. I've talked to all the directors to prepare memorandums, letting us know what they have, what things have changed for them as a result of COVID-19. Chief Raffin was able to talk to Westcom about the number of calls that they've been that are COVID related. And he's going to have a certain percentage that we can track, and then have that apply to his budget. I know Chief Upperman as well has been coding his calls throughout the year, and we'll be doing a similar review of that, and have the salaries related to those calls reimbursed through this CARES Act. There are a number of people that who had family members or themselves contracted the virus. As a result, there was overtime costs that were incurred. Those are costs that we can seek reimbursement for. So at this point in time, I'm sorry we don't have a hard number on that, but I know that Councilman Minnick had reached out to Mary Kay wanting to know what was going on with this money, and that, so that's the purpose for this update today. Everyone's been working really hard. It's as you can imagine, a lot of different things in place, but we've been fortunate. We really haven't had, from a health standpoint, we haven't had any problems. So everyone's, for the most part, been able to get in and working. As we have more information, more numbers to fill in on the blanks for this CARES Act money, we'll let you know. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, we still have some time between now and the start of the council meeting. So does anyone have any questions for the mayor about anything he just put out there? All right.
I guess, Mayor, I am curious as far as city council goes. Would we ever consider meeting live again and, wearing masks and setting our chairs 6 feet apart, even temporary chairs, and then mark off, like as far as for audience, like mark off seats that, like they do at church or at the schools and things? Or would we consider that, or are we comfortable with just maintaining this approach?
Well, we certainly would consider it. I don't know if this falls, Director Riley can maybe help us out on whether this falls under the mass gathering restrictions that the governor has.
Oh, okay.
One of the things that we do, one of the concerns we had, and one of the reasons for the upgrade of the doors at City Hall is, we want to be able to have, kind of a one point of access for people so they're not wandering around. And I think that'll help once we are able to get back together.
Okay.
Yeah, Mayor, real quickly, if I may. I had Council President Moran from Rocky River reach out to me this week and ask what we were doing as far as reconvening in-person meetings, because they were contemplating doing the same. And that, I said that things seem to be working fine like this, and, why rush back until, we we heard from the state and feds about things flattening out, and so it's
I don't believe that anything has changed with regard to the 10 people gathering, but I also would like to point out the problem is when you have a meeting that's a public meeting, you never know how many people are going to show up. I mean, granted, we know we only get maybe 5, 10 people. I don't know. But if you had 50 or 60 people show up, then you run into a problem and you tell some they can come in, some they can't. You know what I'm saying? So I think that at this point,
Yeah.
this is the safest route to go.
I do
You know what I
too.
mean?
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
I just didn't know if there'd been any conversation about it, so I was curious. Okay, thank you.
And one of the things that and I think council going forward, I've talked to a lot of people who like this format, people who typically may not attend a meeting, but they're able to watch the meeting, now or later at their own convenience. So I don't know, we should,
Mhm.
maybe look into, once we do get back together, at the ability to, consider maybe,
Stream.
streaming or something.
I do kind of agree or feel with what Maureen's saying. I do kind of miss the in-person stuff, so I'm with you on that, Maureen.
Yeah.
And we have, the building department has a Dropbox. So they've been actually very busy with a lot of things. We've had a couple people call. I know, we've met a few people outside, but for the most part, I think people understand the reason for the restrictions that we have in place. But like Council President Kilbane said, until we kind of and I know there's a lot of concern talking to public health officials about the fall and what might happen there.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
All right, if there's nothing else, then about 10 minutes until the meeting starts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Am I muted, Liz?
No.
I was, right?
No.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, you're loud and clear now.
Liz, I apologize. You had something to say?
I just had a couple things that I'm probably going to be sending to you guys. I just received right before this meeting in regard to one of the ordinances we're putting up today. Monica sent me the final plans for the Thomas Lane Park, so I will forward that information to you guys. And also there is a rezoning, there's a P&D meeting next week, which I'll send you the agenda and the documents that I got for that. But one of the items on there is a rezoning, which will probably fall on council to do a couple things with. Typically it goes to Bills Committee, and then we also have a public hearing that has to happen. The part where they have to do the voter approval obviously is no longer there, but there is a requirement still for a public hearing. So I'm going to get a timeline together, a tentative timeline, just so you guys know when that would be, those steps would be taking place. The other thing is I got an email, you guys might have gotten it too, but NOACA is having a virtual workshop, I think it is. And I forget what the topic is, but I'll forward that to you. But it is next, whenever September 11th is. So I'll forward that information to you too. And aren't you glad I don't have to remind you anymore about filing your reports? That's over. So that's all I have.
I apologize, Liz. Thank you. Thanks for the updates. All right, everyone, it's 7 o'clock. We're ready to begin.
Okay.
All right, the regular meeting of the Council of the City of Fairview Park for Monday, September the 8th is now called to order. Have a moment of silent reflection. Will the clerk please call roll?
Mr. Simmerly, absent. Mr. Minnick. Oh, hold on, Mr. Minnick. Okay, Mr. Minnick.
Here.
Mrs. Adler.
Here.
Mr. Cobain.
Here.
Mrs. Waring.
Here.
Mrs. King.
Sure.
Mr. Berger.
Present.
Chair will now entertain a motion to excuse Councilman Simmerly from this evening's meeting.
So moved.
Have a second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion to excuse?
Mr. Minnick.
Yes.
Adler.
Yes.
Mr. Cobain.
Yes.
Mrs. Waring.
Yes.
Mrs. King.
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Councilman Simmerly is excused. Okay, we'll now have committee reports. Finance Committee, Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. The Finance Committee met via video conference on August 17th, 2020 at 6:29 p.m. In attendance were members of Council, Mayor Cooney, Director Single, Director Costello, Director Riley, and members of the community. Ordinance 2033 authorizes an application to NOACA for a senior transportation grant program. This ordinance was requested for first reading and final passage consideration at a special council meeting held after the committee meeting. Ms. Monica Jordan did hold a public hearing outlining the grant proposal and answering all of our questions just prior to the committee meeting. A motion was made to place this ordinance on the agenda for the August 17th special city council meeting and first reading emergency passage, which passed with a vote of 7-0. Ordinance 2029 authorizes purchases with PMP Valley View Holdings LLC. There were a few questions about this ordinance, specifically about putting an end date on this piece of legislation. After discussion, a motion was made to place this ordinance on the agenda for the August 17th special city council meeting for first reading and passed with a vote of 7-0. Guests Colin Calvis and Jennifer Kuzma were in attendance and explained the PACE legislation and answered all of our questions about Resolution 2011, PACE 1 form of resolution of necessity for public improvements for Brook Park Road projects. Ordinance 2030, PACE 2, ordinance to proceed with improvements for Brook Park Road projects. Ordinance 2031, PACE 3, ordinance levying assessments for public improvements for Brook Park Road projects. After a brief discussion, a motion was made to place this resolution and the two ordinances on the agenda for the August 17th special city council meeting, first read, and remain in committee, and that passed with a vote of 7-0. Ordinance 2032 amends Fairview Parks Ordinance Section 129.01, Section A, and restructures the personnel of the police department. After a brief discussion, a motion was made to place this ordinance on the agenda for the August 17th special city council meeting for first reading, and it remained in committee, and that passed with a vote of 7-0. The Finance Committee ended at 6:58 p.m. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilwoman King. All right, we will now begin our legislative agenda for this evening with legislation for first read. Councilman Minnick.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place a resolution on first reading.
The clerk please assign a number and read the title.
Resolution 2012, requested and sponsored by Councilman Minnick. A resolution to allow retiring Police Chief Eric Upperman to purchase his service weapon from the city and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Resolution 2012 is placed on first reading and referred to the Environment, Public Works, Planning, and Zoning. Or I'm sorry, to the Finance Committee. That's right, right?
Mhm.
That's right. Okay, Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place 2 ordinances and a resolution up for first reading.
Will the clerk please assign numbers and read the titles?
Ordinance 2033, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwomen King and Waring. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with RJ Platten Contracting Company, 14490 York Road, North Royalton, Ohio, 44133, for improvements to Thomas Lane Park and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 2034, requested by Mayor Patrick J. Cooney, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum principal amount of $18,750,000 for the purpose of refunding certain outstanding, the city's certain outstanding variable purpose refunding bonds, Series 2012, dated October 30th, 2012, and declaring an emergency. Resolution 2013, requested by Greg Single, Finance Director, sponsored by Councilwoman King. A resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county fiscal officer.
All right, thank you. Ordinance 2033, 2034, and Resolution 2013 are all placed on first reading and referred to the Finance Committee. We will now have legislation for second reading. Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place 2 ordinances up for second reading.
Would the clerk please read the titles?
Ordinance 2029, requested by Mary Kay Costello, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to purchase necessary debris disposal services and road repair materials from Boyes Excavating and Boyes Aggregates and Materials, known now as PNP Valley View Holdings LLC, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance 2032, requested by Mayor Patrick J. Cooney, sponsored by Councilwoman King, co-sponsored by Councilwoman Waring. An ordinance amending section 129.01A entitled Composition of Chapter 129 entitled Police Department of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Fairview Park and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. All right, Ordinance 2029 is placed on second reading and subsequent third reading and returned to the Finance Committee. And Ordinance 2032 is placed on second reading and returned to the Finance Committee. Clerk Westbrooks, have we received any audience input on legislation that's up for passage this evening?
I have not received anything.
All right, thank you. All right, so we will now have legislation on for passage without 3 readings. Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place an ordinance before council for emergency passage.
Would the clerk please assign a number and read the title?
Ordinance 2035, requested by Mayor Patrick J. Cooney, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance making a written return to the fiscal officer of Cuyahoga County, Ohio, for charges for the services of the city of Fairview Park, Ohio, for cutting weeds on certain parcels of land described herein, and authorizing said charges to be placed upon the tax duplicate and collected as other taxes pursuant to section 731.54 of the Ohio Revised Code and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. I move that the charter provision in Rule 49 requiring that legislation be read at 3 separate meetings be suspended and that it be placed before council for emergency passage.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion?
Mr. Minnick. Mrs. Adler.
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
The motion carries. Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. I move that Rule 53 requiring reference to committee be dispensed with and Ordinance 2035 be placed on final passage.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion?
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Prior to call for passage of ordinance 2035, is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on passage of ordinance 2035?
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
The ordinance 2035 passes. Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place Resolution 2011 up for emergency passage.
Thank you. Will the clerk please read the title?
Resolution 2011, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King, co-sponsored by Councilman Minnick. A resolution to approve 2 petitions for special assessments for special energy improvement projects under Ohio Revised Code, Chapter 1710, and approve the necessity of acquiring, installing, equipping, and improving certain public improvements in the city of Fairview Park, Ohio, in cooperation with the Northeast Ohio Advanced Energy District, 21,000 Brook Park Road projects.
Thank you. Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to make a motion to amend Resolution.
Councilwoman King, make the motion to do away with the 3 reads first, please.
Oh, okay. I move that the charter provision in Rule 49 requiring that legislation be read at 3 separate meetings be suspended and that it be placed before council for emergency passage.
Thank you. So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk please call roll on the motion.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Prior to call for passage of resolution 2011, is there any further discussion?
Council President,
Councilwoman King.
I would like to make a motion to amend Resolution 2011 by replacing it in its entirety with the substitute legislation approved in committee tonight.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion to amend? Okay, hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion to amend?
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries. Prior to call for passage of resolution 2011 amended, is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on passage of resolution 2011 amended?
Mr. Minnick. Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
All right, Resolution 2011 amended passes. Councilwoman King,
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place ordinance 2030 up for emergency passage.
would the clerk please read the title?
Ordinance 2030, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King, co-sponsored by Councilman Minnick. An ordinance to determine to proceed with the acquisition, installation, equipment, and improvement of certain public improvements in the city of Fairview Park, Ohio, in cooperation with the Northeast Ohio Advanced Energy District, 21,000 Brook Park Road projects.
Thank you. Councilwoman King,
Thank you, Council President. I move that the charter provision in Rule 49 requiring that legislation be read at 3 separate meetings be suspended and that it be placed before council for emergency passage.
so moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion?
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Prior to call for passage of ordinance 2030, is there any further discussion?
President,
Councilwoman King,
I would like to make a motion to amend ordinance 2030 by replacing it in its entirety with substitute legislation approved in committee tonight.
so moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion to amend? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion to amend?
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion to amend carries. Prior to call for passage of ordinance 2030 amended, is there any further discussion?
Council President,
Councilwoman King,
I would like to move that ordinance 2030 be amended to include the resolution of necessity, legislative number, and passage date in the first whereas clause.
so moved. Do I have a
Second.
second? Is there any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on passage of the amendment?
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain, Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring.
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Prior to call for passage of ordinance 2030 amended, is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on passage of ordinance 2030 amended?
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Ordinance 2030 amended passes. Councilwoman King,
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place ordinance 2031 up for emergency passage.
clerk please read the title.
Ordinance 2031, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King, co-sponsored by Councilman Minnick. An ordinance to levy special assessments for the purpose of acquiring, installing, equipping, and improving certain public improvements in the city of Fairview Park, Ohio, in cooperation with the Northeast Ohio Advanced Energy District, and authorizing 2 energy project cooperative agreements and 2 special assessment agreements, 21,000 Brook Park Road projects.
Thank you. Councilwoman King,
Thank you, Council President. I move that the charter provision in Rule 49 requiring that legislation be read at 3 separate meetings be suspended and that it be placed before council for emergency passage.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion?
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Prior to call for passage of ordinance 2031, is there any further discussion?
Council President,
Councilwoman King.
I would like to make a motion to amend ordinance 2031 by replacing it in its entirety with the substitute legislation approved in committee tonight.
So moved. Is there any discussion? Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion to amend?
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. The ordinance is amended. Prior to call for passage of ordinance 2031 amended, is there any further discussion?
Council President,
Councilwoman King.
I would like to move that ordinance 2031 be amended to include the resolution of necessity, legislative number and passage date, and the ordinance to proceed and special assessments legislative number and passage date in the second and third whereas clauses.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on motion to amend?
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
The motion carries. Prior to call for passage of ordinance 2031 amended, is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on passage of ordinance 2031 amended?
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
All right, ordinance 2031 amended passes. And this will conclude our legislative agenda for this evening.
Hi, sweetie. I'm in my meeting, okay?
Hi, sweetie, how you doing?
You can come in if you need to.
Okay, we'll now have comments and by Mayor Cooney and his administration. Mayor Cooney, if you're ready.
Thank you, Council President Kilbane. I'd like to welcome Kim Kerber to the meeting today. Kim is works with McKay Engineering, and she's going to be sitting in on the meetings going forward. Kim has been working with McKay for a long time. I know she's familiar with Director Costello from her time in Rocky River, and has been working with her a lot here since Director Costello came to Fairview Park. In addition, Community Planner Jordan has worked with Kim on some projects here in Fairview Park and in conjunction with Mary Kay. So the gang's all back together. Kim, Mary Kay, and Monica, they're doing a great job. I've had an opportunity to work with Kim, these last 8 months or so, and she's been fantastic. So I'd like to welcome her and encourage anybody, if you have any questions about a project, she's a great source and she'd be happy to help. So Kim, welcome aboard. I mean, you've been aboard, but welcome to these meetings, and hopefully we'll be in person in the near future. Building department has been very busy with numerous residential permits. There's a lot of renovations going on in the city. People are spending more time at home and getting ambitious with some of their projects. So that's been a good sign to see investment here in the city. On Monday, September 14th, the Board of Zoning Appeals has a meeting. There will be 4 items on that. I believe there's 4 items on that agenda. As Councilman Minnick mentioned at the caucus meeting on Wednesday, September 16th, Planning and Design Commission has a meeting at 7 o'clock. That's also, there's 4 items on that agenda. I would like to thank council for its passage of the PACE legislation earlier here today. As we've talked before, this is really a critical part of this project. David Krisafi from Sears Development is here on the call. David and his group were very persistent, have been very persistent, and they've had a lot of hurdles, but they keep moving forward, and we're excited to help them at this latest stage, and can't wait for the finished product. I'd also like to thank Colin Galvis and Jennifer Kuzma for their help with this legislation. And again, I think it's pretty instrumental to the project. And as we've talked before, this is one of the larger projects here in Northeast Ohio with this type of financing. So hopefully it'll lead to other developers using it in the future. And lastly, to Council Clerk Westbrook, this was a very challenging legislation, and it was very important, and we appreciate all her efforts in getting it to you timely and correctly. Service Department, and with respect to the PACE financing in this project, I'd also like to thank former Director Leininger and Mayor Patton for their work on this. As I mentioned, this has been an ongoing thing. There's been a lot of groundwork that was laid prior to my administration taking over. And we had a meeting recently for the AED to approve this legislation from their end. And Sean was on the call from Lakewood, and he's been helpful throughout. So we appreciate their efforts as well. Service Department, on Saturday, September 16th from 9 to 12, we have a shredding event on a household hazardous waste drop-off. I know Council Member King had reached out to help volunteer. We're still kind of looking. Monica was out of town last week, so we're just kind of looking through the logistics of it, and we'll let you know if we need some help, and I appreciate you reaching out. We anticipate a lot of activity that day. I think people, after they've cleaned out their closets and their file cabinets, now they've moved on to their renovation projects, but the first thing they did was clean out all their old papers. So we anticipate a big crowd. We ask the people when they do come that they keep their items in the trunk so we can maintain social distance, and we'll have enough people there to help. We'll give you some more information on this. We posted it on the website, and we'll keep people informed moving forward. The Service Department has been busy with the weather being cooperative. Thankfully, they didn't have to work yesterday, which was not very cooperative, but they've been doing a lot of tree trimming, and we are going to be getting a bucket truck to allow them to do some of the higher tree trimming projects in the next couple of months, working on road repairs and again, other weather dependent projects. We had a lot of rain yesterday. I know Hopkins had close to 4 inches of rain, I think 3.5 inches in Brook Park, North Olmsted. We did get 4 calls to the Service Department. I saw a few residences on Facebook that had some problems. you know, it's always unfortunate whenever anybody gets any rain, or I'm sorry, any water in their basement, but compared to the last large rain event, the numbers are much lower. I know the service department will be going out to some of these areas to jet to see if there were some problems there. So as always with the with the water in basements, if people can let us know, or maybe let you know, and you can let us know so we can try to look for some trends. We had talked earlier in the year after that, you know, Kim has been part of these discussions, where we're looking at ways to resolve the sewer problems that we have. Community Planner Jordan and Director Costello recently submitted an application to the Ohio EPA for a water pollution control loan fund. That will help us with some planning that we would need to do to see what would be the best way to address this problem. It's a zero interest loan, and that loan could again help from engineering and planning. And then once we have that information in place, then we can look for construction loans. So again, I know it's frustrating for the folks who are experiencing these problems, and we are working on it. The restrictors are going in place. And we didn't see as many calls as we did earlier in May. Every rain event is different, but if it's stressful for the people who's experienced these problems, and we are working on it to address it. There'll be more information as we proceed, but I just wanted to, I know that based on what happened yesterday, I wanted to address that. Again, that hazardous waste and shredding event is Saturday, September 19th. I think I might have said the 16th, but it's the 19th. It's from 9 to 12 here at City Hall. People coming, they'll need to bring an ID confirming that they're a Fairview resident. Senior Life, Governor DeWine allowed senior centers to open beginning on September 21st. He made that announcement, and the next day we received a number of calls about when we're going to reopen. The protocols were not issued until I believe late last week. We had a chance to review those. I know Interim Director Rondos has been looking at those. Similar to what we did with the Gemini Center, we're talking with the Service Department, Director Costello, you know, Chief Raffin, trying to make sure that we have as much protection as we can, so things are safe for our staff, for our seniors. There are a couple of questions that have arisen with respect to the protocols put in place or issued by the Ohio Department of Health. We're seeking clarification on those, and that will be, you know, have a big impact on what we do. So as we get some of those answers, we'll pass them along to you and to our seniors who, again, are very anxious to get back together. We want to get them back together, but of course it has to be a safe environment. The congregate activities are going to have to be limited, so we're looking at things that we can do for them moving forward. With the rec departments, I know about a month or so ago, I had received some inquiries about the condition of the stadium and the track. There was a lot of trash there. I want to thank people for pointing that out to us. And also I want to thank the service department and members of the custodial staff at the high school for addressing that problem. A lot of it, quite frankly, is litter. That was the problem there. We did talk with, you know, Athletic Director Dianetti, Dr. Wagner. I'm not suggesting it was just the students, but I know they're there a lot. Anything that they could do to help us would be beneficial. They have done that. I know that, again, the custodial staff was helpful. But I asked the residents, if you're using the track or the stadium, throw your garbage away. And if you're walking by something that's on the ground, pick it up and throw it away. It's not acceptable that people do that, but people do it. We had the service department, they're going up there on a more regular basis. The entrance from Campus Drive was open for a long time due to the construction at the high school and the middle school. That construction has been completed. The certificate of occupancy was recently issued to them. We closed that entrance for a number of reasons. One being people were riding their bikes and strollers, bringing strollers and other wheels onto the track, which causes damages to the track. And also, I just think it became a cut through and another place where people can, just cause some, just it's a cut through and they're not there to use it, and garbage is being placed. So I would ask again, if you're using it, take care of it as if it's your own, because it is. It's the city's facility, and everybody pitching in would be helpful. At the Gemini Center, we opened up back in June. We've seen a steady increase of visitors since then. In June, we had about 1,300 visitors per week. Recently, we're up to almost close to 2,000 visitors a week. Next week, group exercising will begin. There'll be some TRX and spinning classes there. There'll also be some senior classes. People for the TRX and spinning will need to register online. Seniors can, I believe they also can register online, or they can reserve a spot an hour before the class. The class sizes will be strictly, they're going to be restricted, and because of the social distancing requirements, those will be strictly enforced. We appreciate the efforts of Mary Long and her staff there. Kerry Kemp has started today. We're happy to have him on board. We're slowly looking to add more programming and get that facility back together. There's some youth programming that has opened up. Flag football is for K through second grade, third through fourth, and fifth through sixth grade. That registration has been open. It ends this Friday. I believe we already have at least one team for each age group. And there's a waiting list. If you know people who are interested, we ask that they sign up, and hopefully we can get everybody to participate. Youth soccer is available for ages 4 through 5 and 6 through 8. Unlike in the past where we would have 8 kids per squad, they're going to limit it to 4 kids per squad to help with social distancing. Also, volleyball registrations are available for 4th through 9th graders. So we'd ask if you're interested, you can do that online, or you can come to the Gemini Center and sign up. We're talking about having some private swim lessons beginning, as well as some other swim program rentals. We've seen some trends with the leisure pool and the competition pools being open now, and that there is some availability for that type of programming. So we're going to begin doing that. Details could be found on the Recreation Department's website. On Saturday, September 26th, from 10 to 3 o'clock, there will be a plea in the high school parking lot. Danielle Danberg has said there's been a lot of interest from the vendors, and I know that there's a lot of interest from from our residents. Social distancing, again, will be in place. Masks will be required for anybody coming into the area. So we'll keep you posted on that. The police department, I know the chief sent out something today about campaign signs being stolen. It seems like that's equal opportunity offenders from what we've heard and from people calling here. People need to respect other people's First Amendment rights. If you are not pleased with what they're displaying in their yard, I suggest you vote, and that's the best way to address that problem. The voter registration deadline is October 5th, and also you can request mail-in ballots when you're going to register to vote. So if you do go onto somebody's property to take their sign, that is a crime. It is trespassing. If you are caught, you will be prosecuted. Last Tuesday, we had a promotional test. We had 3 sergeants take the test for lieutenant position and 10 patrol officers to take the sergeant's test. We hope to have some results later this week, and then the Civil Service Commission will go through that. I'd like to thank all of those officers for taking the test. It's a lot of work studying for those type of tests. And while someone may not be successful and maybe being promoted, by studying and taking the time to take the test, they make themselves a better officer. They're going to learn more about the department, about the laws that they'll be enforcing, and be a better leader and serve our community better. So I appreciate their efforts with respect to that. Lastly, the deadline for the census is September 30th. We've had a very good response rate. We're one of the top cities in the county. We do have some room for growth. If anybody here has not filled out the census, I would encourage you to do it. It doesn't take a lot of time. If you do it online, it's probably less than 10 minutes. My kids were enamored with the age calculator. You type in your date of birth and they magically tells you how old the person is. They thought that was pretty cool. So if someone does not have the ability to do it online, they can do it over the phone. I know that there are people out in the community they identify themselves. They have a lot of identification that they are with the census, and we have not heard any complaints. I know the police department, they were advised that people are in the community going door to door for those who haven't responded. Again, we would encourage people to respond by September 30th. Mr. Chairman, thank you for your time, and welcome back, everybody.
Mayor, thank you for all these important updates. Director of Public Service and Development, Costello. Do you have anything for us?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I would just like to reiterate my appreciation for City Council and Council Clerk Westbrook's efforts to move the PACE financing legislation into tonight's meeting. As you heard from Mr. Kristofi, the project will move forward, and your efforts tonight are really a big part of that forward momentum. And I just wanted to give a brief update on that project. They have let us know that they're moving forward through the asbestos removal, 90% for the boutique hotel building, and the demo is moving forward, the internal demo in the K building, the building adjacent that will be apartments and other exciting potential retail development. So thank you again. That was a lot of work and I really appreciate that. I'd like to report that we will be sending an ordinance to City Council regarding the CARES Act funding that the mayor mentioned. We are looking to create a bid package for doors and I guess doors is a great synopsis at the Gemini here at City Hall and at Bank Cabin. And this work will allow for better pedestrian movement, better social distancing. And so we'll look for an October 9th bid opening. And in order to meet that mid-October initial report, we really do want to open those bids on October 9th. And we'd also like to have a pre-bid meeting. So we're going to see a legal ad in the paper September 18th, and then our ordinance before City Council on the 21st for a read. And we'll request a suspension of the rules that allow us to pass that legislation on a first read. But we will be getting that information to you all. And if you have any questions in the interim, please don't hesitate to call me. We'll also be moving the sidewalks project to the Board of Control. If there's any questions about that, we'd like to request a Board of Control meeting next Monday as well, accepting DRS Enterprises as the most responsive and best bid. And also, I'd like to thank Liz for sending out the Thomas Lane links. If you would like to look at that in your email, but it's also posted on the website. If any resident has any questions, please let me know. I'd be happy to answer any questions. And lastly, I'd like to also thank our service department for their great work. Today, there was a little water left over from the rains at Vulcan Park. They worked hard to make sure all of that was taken care of and the drains were working fine. But they have been steadily working hard on maintaining, installing restrictors, and that moderates the flow of the stormwater into the system, which really helps protect our basements. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate everyone's efforts tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Finance Director Single, do you have anything for us this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Just a couple items. First, the monthly reports for August have been distributed. As always, if there are any questions, please let me know. And then the audit, the 2019 audit has finally been completed. Special thanks to Deanna and Carlene and all the department heads, the mayor and members of council for your help. Took a little longer than normal this year, but happy to report that the city received a clean audit opinion. And this year, as you all know, the state auditor audited the books of the city. Next year, they're going to allow us to go out and enter into a contract with an independent public accounting firm to audit the 2020 financial records. And I think they're going to let us go out for 4 years. Haven't got that confirmation yet, but so that's some news to pass along to council. And then lastly, I know I said 2 things, but one other thing is we will be working on an appropriation change ordinance to bring forth to City Council here in the near future. That's all I have tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Director. Law Director Riley.
I have nothing this evening.
Thank you. City Engineer Kerber. Welcome.
Thank you, Council President Cobain. I'm pleased to be joining you beginning tonight and for the future as the McKay representative to council. Thank you, Mayor Cooney, for the lovely introduction. I look forward to working with you all, and I will make sure Liz has my contact information that she can provide to you. If you have any questions or things come up, please don't hesitate to reach out. Michael McKay is also available too if you need something right away. My report tonight contains 2 items. We're working on the West 210th resurfacing. Our first submittal to ODOT for that project will be made next week, and the project is scheduled for construction in 2021. We also reviewed the bids for the 2020 sidewalk program and anticipate a pre-con for that project in the next couple of weeks. And that's my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you and welcome again. We'll miss seeing Michael's face, but we look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you.
Clerk Westbrook, have we received any public session requests to speak? Liz, you there?
Nope, I have nothing. There's nothing there.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, so we'll have miscellaneous business and comments by members of council now. Councilman Minnick, do you have anything this evening?
Council President, no report.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Adler?
I just had one inquiry. I guess Mary Kay mentioned the Brook Park project would include some apartments. Someone asked me, for some reason, they thought that if someone lived in that area, that they go to the Berea Mid-Park schools. I don't know where they heard that, but I just wanted to confirm they would in fact be Fairview students, correct?
It would be my understanding that they'd be Fairview Park students. However, this is located in a school district for Brook Park. So
Yeah, it's the Berea Brook Park School District.
So that is accurate. Students would go there.
I believe so.
What about tax dollars? Would tax dollars go to our schools or their schools?
They would go to their schools. Director
Okay.
Single, that's,
Yeah, that parcel's in the Berea School District. Those tax dollars would go to the Berea School District.
right.
Okay, so students would attend the Berea schools, not Fairview.
sorry.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, well, I'll have to eat my words with this person and correct. So thank you for sharing that information. That unfortunate information, but
Yeah, sorry to be the bearer of bad news on that one.
yeah.
Thanks for bringing
Okay.
that. Thanks for bringing that forward, Councilwoman Adler, because that's the first I've heard of this as well. So that's kind of disturbing information.
Right. Okay, yeah, I was surprised by it. So now I know. All right, well, thank you. And then I guess on a positive note, I want to thank the entire administration for always being so thorough in their communication, not only at these meetings, but in any emails we've received and inquiries I've made. Everyone has been incredibly responsive. And then I was also impressed where I got Paul Shepard has already reached out to communicate with us and just to be very upfront and trying to know what each of us on council, where our concerns lie or questions lie. So I know I'll be meeting with him tomorrow. And also I'm happy to see that the weed cutting charge will be put in place. Probably one of the main calls I get are people upset about weeds in our city. I mean, we're fortunate in that respect, but at the same time, it's good we're taking the bull by the horns and keeping our city well maintained. And that is it from me. I'm sorry.
Just one last thing, we are going to collect the bed tax, and there is still going to be some revenue realized from income tax in that Brook Park development, just so you can cushion the blow with your constituent. Yeah.
So we'll get the bed tax from the hotels, and then we'll get income tax as well.
That's correct.
Okay. Very good. Thank
So
you.
Income tax from the jobs from there, and then the residents, they're at the income tax from the residents at the apartments as well.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Waring, do you have anything for us?
I do, Council President. Thank you. So I requested a list from City Hall of those who reported flooding in Ward 4 over the weekend. We were blessed with 4 inches of rain in one day. And there were actually no reports of flooding in Ward 4. Based on Facebook comments and just general knowledge of my ward, I'm assuming that there was flooding. It just went unreported. So for anybody who's watching or watching later, if you did experience flooding, I'd like to speak with you. And I'm sure the Service Director Costello would also like to speak with you. It's important to me that we map this flooding and identify the hot spots so that we can start to figure out where and how to fix the remaining problems in our infrastructure. It's also really important that we understand the difference between water backup, which is through your drain, water seepage, which might come through your walls or floor of your basement, or water ponding in backyards when we talk about flooding. So it's really important that when we talk about this, we're clear on what kind of flooding we're talking about. So I'm on a personal mission this week to find those who flooded in Ward 4, map them, and really help us understand this issue. So if it was you, please give me a call, send me an email. I'd like to talk about it. Also, prematurely, I guess I'd like to say, you know, that I know we have a couple people potentially being brought into the city today. And so I'd like to congratulate Laura Brandos on her appointment. She's been a real asset to the senior center, and I'm excited for her to take on this role. And I'd also like to welcome our new rec director. You know, I'm really excited to your future leadership. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman King.
I have nothing to report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Berger.
Nothing.
Thank you. Okay, the chair will make a motion to, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the appointment of a couple of the mayor's directors this evening. First being the appointment of Laura Brandos as Senior Life Director.
Council President, is this Senior Life Director or is this an interim director?
It's a Senior Life Director.
It's an interim appointment, Mr. Chairman. Interim Senior Life Director.
Okay. Right. Well, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Laura Brandos as interim Senior Life Director.
So moved, Council President.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion to approve the appointment?
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. The appointment is approved. Welcome, Interim Director Brandos. All right, the chair will now entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Kerry Kemp as Recreation Director.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? I would just like to quickly welcome Kerry as director. I've seen him at the center several times now. He looked like he was hard at it today. So welcome, Director. We look forward to, excuse me. We look forward to working with you in the future. Is there anything? Is there any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion to approve the appointment of Kerry Kemp as Recreation Director?
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Director Kemp. Welcome. Right. Council held an executive session on August 17th, 2020 for the purposes of considering the compensation of a public employee or official. So conferences with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are subject to pending or imminent court action, to prepare for, conduct, or review negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment. The chair assigns the topic of the parking of commercial vehicles in residential areas to the Environment, Public Works, Planning, Zoning, and Development Committee. I would also like to just quickly thank Clerk Westbrooks for all the hard work she did over the past week, pulling all this very complex legislation together for the PACE legislation. You did a great job as usual.
Thank you.
There being nothing else to come before this council this evening, the chair will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Will the clerk please call roll?
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
All right, council is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody. Take care.
Night.